Hey y'all, how's everybody doing? Hey Mother Twerks, hope you guys are enjoying your Sunday. Yeah, happy Sunday, love. Hope that everybody's enjoying your Sunday. So, hey Gigi, I just want to get hop on real fast and have a little quick conversation, right? Hey Black Dahlia, hey Wildcard. If y'all could hear me, could somebody let me know if y'all could hear me all right? Cause the phone's not in my hand. I'm trying to multitask. And so anyway, hey preconceived notions. I am. I hope you're having a good day too, Mother Twerks. Can y'all hear me? Okay, okay. Thank you, Mother Twerks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because like I said, I don't have my phone in my hand. Lorraine, how you doing? Oh, thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, Wildcard. Hey, Lena, how you doing? Thank you guys so much for joining me on this Sunday. I really appreciate it. So I just want to talk a little bit today, real quick, if I could, about um. Thank you, Wildcard, about breaking the chains of generational curses, a certain generational curse, the generational and ancestral curse that I want to talk about today is the generational slash ancestral curse of family violence, right? We've been having a conversation for a couple of days, and you know, but kind of like a back and forth, you know what I mean? But I want to have a serious conversation, right? Because there's a larger issue here. And the larger issue is um, domestic violence as well as generational violence, i.e., family violence, right? So when it comes to family violence, one of the things when you first hear the word family violence or domestic violence, you think about probably fights or domestic violence. The mom hits the dad or the dad hits the mom or they're hitting each other, But you never really think of some people never really think about the impact that is having on the child, right? And so that is one thing that hey Koja, that is one thing that in the midst of the turmoil, you forget about the child, right? You forget about what the child is seeing. How we know that children, especially young children, from birth to you know uh, even beyond the age of 10, but let's take birth to 10. They're sponges, right? They soak up everything they see, everything they hear. And for that reason, the old people used to say, do as I say and not as I do, right? But we know now that you can't say do as I say and not as I do, especially when it comes to children. That doesn't fly because more times than not they are learning from the things that they are soaking up, right? Because if they're in fact sponges, and they are learning, what they see, what they hear. They're learning what the parents or adults around them, how they interact, how they move in certain ways. And so, but sometimes we tend to forget about that, but these days, some of us realize that you always have to be cognizant of that, right? So when it comes to family violence and children, that is kind of ancestral to a certain degree. And what I mean by family violence, I don't mean adults interacting or the part of the ancestral where the ancestral and the where the ancestral as well as the generational curse kind of intersects for me is when it comes to corporal punishment, right? And so let me give you an example. Here's an ancestral curse, right? The ancestral curse is when our ancestors were on the plantation. We know that because a lot of us have learned about our history. One of the more popular things that people have talked about forever is the fact that our ancestors were whipped, right? They were tied to a tree or to a pole, and they were whipped because they had done something wrong, in the plantation owner's eyes, or they had they the plantation owner wanted to make an example of something that the slave did, that they thought would mess up the status quo, or sometimes they just whipped them because they felt like it, right? And so, but for some of the times, some slaves were whipped. And this is not the only reason, but some slaves were whipped pretty much because they disobeyed the master, right? They disobeyed the master, so the master had them tied to the pole and had the overseer give them 30, 40, or 50, or 100, or however many lashes, right? And so, in order to, in an effort to course correct, if you will, right, to correct the fact that you disobeyed the master, right? And so, because that was a common occurrence on the plantation when it came to correcting the slaves, right? When the slaves were free and you no longer had the master overseeing your family, and you got to run your family the way that you want to run your family off the plantation, right? We know that a lot of those things were carried on, right? And so, because a lot of those things were carried on to the point to where a lot of that is encoded in our DNA, because we know that the trauma from chattel slavery, when it comes to us black people, is still encoded in our DNA, right? There are things that happen on the plantation that some of us, history can only, go so far from, second or third heads accounts. But I'm sure that in order for that trauma to be so great that it was encoded in our DNA, we can only imagine. And even we can't even imagine how horrific it was, right? We can't even imagine. So, but like I said, one of the ancestral curses that were carried over from slavery was the whipping. Now, the whipping became a whooping, right? Now, when I was a little girl, it was called a whooping, right? For a lot of us, it's called, I'm going to give you a whooping, right? I'm going to give you a whooping, you know. And so it went from whipping to whooping, right? Because I guess they felt like that was a correct, that was a really they felt like that was a correct. Some of our ancestors felt like that was an appropriate way to course correct, right? Now we have now to this now in this day and age, some of us don't believe in corporal punishment. I don't believe in corporal punishment. Now, did I get whoopings when I was a child? Absolutely. I sure did. Absolutely. But after I went to school, and I went to school to become a social worker. And I never even thought that it was any type of dysfunction or any type of family violence. I thought that was a form of discipline, and even to this day, some people think that that is an appropriate, form of the discipline. And to each its own. If you still use corporal punishment as a way to discipline your child, it is absolutely your right to do that. But when it came to me, when I learned better, how to say, when you know better you do better. When you learn better, through me going to school, I learned that violence is violence, and violence begets violence, right? At the end of the day. And so I don't want to jump the ancestral curse of whipping, um turned into a generational curse of whooping your children as a means of course correcting, or you disobeyed me, and this is going to be your punishment, right? And so, but like I said, when you know better you do better. Now for me, now I'm speaking um this is my opinion, right? See, a lot of the times I think that um some people don't realize that it's an opinion. It's simply, and your opinion is simply your opinion. Do you see what I'm saying? I think they take it to the extreme, because it is impacting um directly. countering something that they have said, right? And so a lot of people take offense to that. But my opinions or my opinion, everybody is entitled to his or her own opinion. And in my opinion, when it comes to corporal punishment, it is directly linked. It is a form of family violence, right? And like I said, when you know better, you do better, right? And different levels, different levels, different devils, all that, right? You know better, you do better, you know. And so, and some things that have gone from ancestral curses to generational curses, some things need to be put by the wayside, right? In my opinion, right? And corporal punishment, in my opinion, is one thing that needs to be put by the wayside. This world is so crazy, right, to this day. And children are a lot different, right? Children are even different than when I was a child, right? And so I always say, every lick I got, I deserved it, right? And I still feel that way. And but I feel like if I were a child in this day and age, I would not feel that way, because we are more advanced. Some of us, a lot of us, in our thinking, especially when it comes to children and violence, and especially, well, I'm gonna say especially, I'm gonna say right there, especially when it comes to children and violence, because children will act out. You can't say do as I say and not as I do, right? You got a lot of gang violence. You have a lot of you will be surprised the numbers when it comes to the stats of when it comes to teens and domestic violence. You guys will be surprised. Now I don't have them off my head right now, but there is a section of domestic violence. It's not only the adult man and the adult woman that are in a relationship. Domestic violence amongst men and women can also happen on the teenage level, right? And so, for that reason and many other reasons, we have to be cognizant, especially these days, of how we are raising as well as disciplining our children, right? You have to be cognizant of that, right? And so, like I said, those whippings turned into whoopings, which went from an ancestral curse to a generational curse, right? Because it was passed down from generation to generation to generation, right? Even to this day, some people may choose corporal punishment, right? And I'm not saying whether it's wrong or right. I'm saying it was after I learned that it is nothing more than violence, family violence, another form of family violence. I chose to do better than my mother and my grandmother, you know, and me and my sisters chose not to do the corporal punishment thing, right? And so, and it's not like, and then you know what? And even to this day, there's a difference in giving somebody a whooping or a spanking and abuse, right? Cause so you can give somebody, you can try to correct the child and give them a spanking on the hand or whatnot and all this and all that, right? So there's different levels of family violence, right? Especially when it comes to children. Then you got those parents that actually commit assaults, and it is absolutely abusive when you go to breaking babies' arms and your little one's arms and blacken their eyes and things of that nature. I've seen a lot when I was a social worker, right? There is a difference between spanking and abuse. There's absolutely a difference in my opinion, right? And so um getting back to the ancestral part, and I chose the way I chose to break the chain of family violence, i.e. ancestral generational curse. The way I chose to break that chain was to have a conversation with my sisters, because they had started having children, and saying, hey, why don't we try not using corporal punishment because of A, B, C, and D, right? Let's try other methods of course correcting, or trying to offset bad behavior, right? Because kids is real messy, right? And so, but there are other things that you could do besides putting your hands on somebody, because what it is doing, in my opinion, is teaching a child violence, right? No matter how you want. So I'm putting your hand. Say you broke a lamp or something, right? So instead of me sitting down and talking to you, and having a conversation with you about why it is wrong to you broke a lamp because you was playing with the ball in the house, right? So some people will you broke this lamp. I told you not to throw this ball in the house. You chose to throw it anyway. So now you gotta get a spanking, right? So we know that when it comes to children, you have to, constantly, um, remind your children of why some of these actions cannot only be dangerous. Some of the actions can be dangerous. Some of the actions, you just don't. As a parent, you don't want them to exhibit these kinds of behaviors, right? So some parents used to use corporal punishment, right? And then some parents choose to use other forms of disciplinary tactics, right? Like instead of putting your hands on the child, maybe take all of those balls away that they like to play with so much, right? And of course you're gonna give your lectures. Maybe take something, their Game Boy or something like that, away from them, or their cell phone, or they're restricted their freedom, like as in you can't go outside for X amount of days. There are a whole lots of things that you could do to course correct your children, right? To let them know that what you did was inappropriate, and I'm not going to be able to tolerate that, right? And if I ask you to do something, I'm going to need you to do it, and here's why, right? Hey Yusuf, how you doing? Peace. Okay. This topic is about trending event. Yes, actually it is, Yusuf. It is. And so uh Yusuf, maybe forget what I was gonna say. Yeah, but there are a whole lot of other forms of discipline that you could use besides putting your hands on somebody, right? Because at the end of the day, violence begets violence. So let's talk about violence begetting violence, right? So we talked about the generational part, and we talked about the ancestral part, you know, and we talked about the fact that there is even a difference between of spanking your child and abusing your child, because there is a difference, right? So let me give you an example, right? So say y'all please hit the like button too, by the way. So say you've raised your children, right? You raised your children, and you raised your children up in the old way, right? Which means you gave your kids spankings or whoopings or whatever you want to call it, you know. Oh, hey Sheba, and hey everybody that joined the chat. Y'all please hit the like button. You raised your children up the way that you were raised, right? When it came to discipline, right? Now, also, I want to put, on a side note, that sometimes when parents, whoop their kids, they are not doing it to even course correct. They are doing it. Hey, Patrice Waters, they are doing it because they are angry, right? They are doing it because they are angry, right? And so if you're going to, because sometimes parents are really reactionary, especially say you are the main caretaker. I almost got to say this too. I'm gonna start reading the chat. Especially if you are the main caretaker, right? Say you are with your um that's say you are with your kids, all day on a continuous basis, right? Say you are a two-parent home, right? And but you are the housewife. The husband goes to work and he handles the bills and the whatever else, but you are the main one in charge of the children, because you are the mother, right? You are so you are in charge of the day-to-day well-being, um you know uh of the rearing of your children, right? So you with these kids all day, right? and they have been getting on your nerves all day, right? You can't no longer just ignore it, right? So something happens where something, like I said earlier, the analogy earlier, a lamp is broken, right? Because you done told them to stop playing in the house with this ball, right? Because I don't want you to break something, right? So darn on it, if the inevitable didn't happen, because they didn't listen to you when you say don't play with this ball in the house because you're gonna break something. So they playing with the ball in the house and they break something, right? So because they broke something, and you've been saying it, you've been hollering at them all day, stop doing this, stop doing that, stop doing the other, right? You finally done snapped. You finally tired of it. Do you see what I'm saying? And so what do? You spank that child, right? But you have to ask yourself, am I spanking this child because I want to course correct them? Or am I spanking this child out of anger? You know, that's what you have to ask yourself. Have I gotten frustrated to the point to where I'm ready to lay hands on this child because I've been hollering all day, my nerves done got bad, you know, the father's been going to work all day. I'm the only one here in the house with them. They ain't listening to me, you know. And I finally feel like I done had it. I done had all I could take, right? And the inevitable happens. Like I said, they come in and actually break your lamp, right? So, but like I said, you have to ask yourself: Am I whooping you to course correct you, or am I whooping you because I am angry? See, that's the issue that I have. Another issue that I have with corporal punishment, right? You have to. Are you benefiting the child by putting your hands on them, or are you relieving some pressure? Because you done got frustrated with them, right? So instead of you maybe sending them to their rooms, or making them take a nap, or something like that, or just whatever else you can do, walking away, taking a few deep breaths, you know. But instead, you're going to be very emotional because you feel like you done met your limit and spank that baby, you know. Spank that baby out of frustration. So my thing is, how is that helping the situation? Is that really discipline, or is that really teaching the child that the way that I handle my frustrations is to put my hands on somebody? You know, I get frustrated with you on the playground, right? And I'm sick of you doing A, B, C, and D. I feel like I can't take it no more. And so I'm gonna pop you in the face and we're gonna start fighting. Because I was frustrated with you because you was doing something that I didn't want you to do on the playground. And that's what I mean by violence begets violence. You know, it doesn't help, in my opinion, right? But like I said, even to this day, some people choose that sort of thing as a disciplinary action, not trying to judge anybody if you're still using that form. I'm just saying, from a personal standpoint, and I'm not the only one saying it. Some professionals say that too, but for this conversation, I'm saying this in my opinion, right? And so, yeah, when it comes to violence begetting violence, like I just said, your kid will go out and exhibit that same type of violence on another kid, right? Because that is violence begetting violence, right? And when it comes to the family, like I said, let me get back to my thing. So let me give you an example, another example, right? Say you are a parent, right? You are a matriarch. You are a matriarch, but you have grown your kids. You've taken care of your kids by yourself, right? Now, some of your kids are now adults, and um, let me read this. Hold on. Mother Twerks, why did you have to write this? About 19 U.S. states allow schools to use corporal punishment for students, and black children are punished the most. Black boys more than black girls. Yeah, I know that they even in 2022, I do know that there are still some states that allow corporal punishment. You know, but here in the state of Tennessee, corporal punishment is um not allowed anymore. I can't get I don't know the state by state, as to which states still use it and which states don't. But I do know that some states still allow the schools to use corporal punishment, right? And that's unfortunate because, like I said, violence begets violence. Even in school, say your teacher powder you or whatever, right? You could be so mad that your teacher powdered you, you can leave the classroom, and when it's lunchtime or playtime on the field or whatever, because you still upset about you getting powdered, you can want to lay hands on another child. That's like violence begetting violence, right? It's just like no excuse for it, right? In my opinion, right? So let's get hey L, hey iPhone user, hey Stephanie, hey everybody, Mela, how you doing? Concerning the generated curse thing might be used as an excuse by those who are hot headed towards you. That's what we're talking about. Like I said, it's are you trying to discipline your child really, or are you just doing it out of anger, you know, because you're frustrated, you know. And so you want to scare and or beat your child into submission. So what do? You commit this form of family violence to scare the child into submission because you're frustrated, right? So yeah, yeah. So anyway, like I was saying, let's go back to this example, right? Because there really is a teachable moment in this situation, right? So let me give another example. You are a matriarch of the family, meaning your kids are you've raised your kids by yourself, right? For whatever reason, you are the primary caretaker, right? Say you're a single mom. Let's take the single mom because that's a very popular subject, in this area, right? So you're a single mom, and you got three, four, five, whatever kids. You've taken care of these, you reared these kids by yourself, right? And one of the things that you've done to keep your kids in line, quote unquote, keep your kids in line when they were younger, maybe even older, was corporal punishment, right? So you've gone your whole life, uh, gone your whole life, using corporal punishment as a form of discipline for your children, right? So your children are now old. You're older. They're now grown, right? Your children are now grown, and your children start to have their own children, right? So that makes you the matriarch. You're the oldest person, when it comes to your family unit, right? When it comes to you and your children and their children, you are the matriarch, right? Because you are the oldest. You are the mother, and now you are the grandmother in the situation, right? And so, because you raised your kids using corporal punishment, um, for in a lot of cases, your children are going to raise their kids and discipline their kids by using corporal punishment, right? Because that is passing on of the generational curse. You don't see it as in a generational curse because 9 times out of 10, your parents raised you and disciplined you via corporal punishment, right? I told you that my mother and my grandmother would use corporal punishment on me and my sisters, and the cousins or whatever, right? But like I said earlier, when I went to school, become a social worker, you do your stats, you do your clinicals, you learn that it is nothing more than perpetrating violence. Brought that information back to my family. We don't do corporal punishment, right? For that reason alone. Because violence beget violence. You can't say do as I say and not as I do, right? And so anyway, so you now have grandkids, right? You now have grandkids. And Now we know that we love our grandbabies. Right now, I am not a mother. I've never had any children, but I am a aunt and a great aunt now, right? So um, you raised your kids using corporal punishment, and now your kids are using corporal punishment, right? And so also you have to realize when you raise your kids using corporal punishment, you can sometimes open the door to a lot of things that you don't want from them. And one of those things is because they was raised up with you, using corporal punishment as a way of discipline on them. You can open that door to domestic violence, right? And because it is normalized dysfunction, right? So say you're raising a daughter, you grew up giving her, using corporal punishment on her. She meets some kind of guy that's very predatory, and he starts to commit domestic violence on her. 9 times out of 10, because she was raised up with that form of discipline, she's going to, um, unfortunately, sometimes in some cases, take that domestic violence longer than she should take it, right? Because she's kind of used to this type of normalized violence, right? Because she was raised up, and used corporal punishment on her, right? So that's passing down a generation of curse, right? And but because she's used to, somebody that they say love them having the hands put on them, she will maybe take that type of dysfunction into her relationships, and she will stay in that situation longer than she should, because in the back of her mind it's normalized. It's normalized dysfunction. My mama did it to me, you know. And like I said, then you're raising your child. You're raising it when it comes to disciplining them. You're doing domestic violence. I mean, you're doing family violence, i.e., you're using corporal punishment as well, right? It's just passing on the generational curse, right? And so anyway, so you raise the child is grown, the child got a child, the child comes to live with you, right? The child comes to live with you, and one day you walk in and you see your daughter, um using using a whooping, or as a form of discipline, right? Because who knows what your child done broke something, your grandbaby done broke something, and you walk in on your grown adult child, using corporal punishment as a means to discipline your grandchild, because something has been broken or whatever, right? So you feel like that, um when you walk in, that your adult child, the child's mother, is being a bit harsh. She going about it the wrong way. I'm in your mind. You're walking in, all this and all of the baby is probably hollering and screaming because they're getting, disciplined by whatever. It could be a belt, it could be a shoe, it could be, a switch, anything, right? But you feel like, hey, you're going too far, you know. So you probably tell, your daughter, hey, you're going too far, right? Your daughter might say, this is my child. You can't tell me how to raise my child, right? And so your daughter continues to, spank or whoop that child, right? So now you've gone frustrated with your child for, disciplining your grandchild, and you feel like, it's too harsh. They're actually, they're hurting the child. They're going beyond the limits, right? They're abusing the child, right? And this is your grandbaby, and you love your grandbaby, and you can't take it no more, right? So what do? You start to put your hands on the mother of the child that's being disciplined, right? You put your hands on that child, right? So you put your hands on that child. You put your hands on your child because your child is putting their hands on their child, right? Do you see? That is a chain. That is a generational, the chain of a generational curse, right? You guys see what I'm saying? That is, perpetrating the generational curse, right? So the way for you to counteract what your child is doing to your grandbaby is to turn around and put your hands on your child. But you've been putting that is the way you chose to discipline your child all along, even when your child was small, before your child had children of her own, you know. But you can't say do as I say, not as I do, right? You can't say I'm whooping your tail, but when you grow up and you have your children, I don't want you to lay your hands on your kids, right? But I'm gonna whip your tail. But you don't put your hands on your kids, right? Because I'm gonna have a problem with it. And if I ever see you doing it, I'm going to come in and I'm going to whip your tail again for putting your hands on my grandbaby, right? Now, in my mind, that doesn't make sense. You know, in my mind, that doesn't make sense because how do you stop a family violence situation using violence? That doesn't make sense. So, one way that you could do that is to break the generational curse, break that chain of dysfunction. So you might want to do what I did. Okay, I got whoopings when I was a child. When I grew up, I said I'm not gonna whoop my kids. I'm not gonna use corporal punishment as a form of discipline because it only begets more violence. And what you should never do is teach your child a conflict resolution via putting hands on somebody, right? That is teaching your child conflict resolution via laying hands on someone. They doing something, they doing one of their friends doing something on the playground that they don't like, and instead of them or trying to take something away from them, and instead of them trying to resolve their issue in a different manner, what they do, they start a fight with the other person on the playground. Why? Because it is what is going on at home. Why? Because you cannot say do as I say and not as I do. It don't work that. It don't work like that. It's illogical. It don't make sense. Right? And another thing is, okay, so now you done got your daughter off of your grandbaby, right? By harming, by laying your hands on your daughter, because your daughter was laying hands on her child, right? Now the whole time, the thing you call yourself protecting your child, right? But your grandbaby, but now your grandbaby is seeing you lay your hands on their mama, right? So what is that doing for the child's psyche? What is that saying to the child? You might not even realize it at the time. All you thinking about at the time is, let me protect my grandbaby. This is going too far. Let me get my daughter off my grandchild, right? But the way that you choose to do that is the problem. The way that you choose to do that is perpetrate violence on the child's mother. Now, mind you, the child is looking at all of this. The child just got, spanked or whooped, which means, the child had hands laid on him in a very derogatory manner, you know. And not only that, the child is watching the grandmother assault the mother, right? So that is continuing the cycle of violence. That is what I mean. And so you always have to be mindful of that. You always have to think before you act, especially when it comes to kids, because like I said, you cannot always go around saying, do as I say and not as I do. In my opinion, corporal punishment is not a positive, it is not it's very disastrous when it comes to course correcting or addressing bad behavior, because it begets more bad behavior, it begets more violence, right? And so, like I said, we've been having this conversation for a couple of days because of a story that another content creator chose to come on here and share to the world. uh And another piece of advice from, is that if you don't want people to talk about it, then you shouldn't share it, because everybody's going to uh have a right to comment on it once you make it public, right? That's just how it is. It's the platform. You put it out there, people got a right to comment on it. It's just the way it is. You know. So when using this example, in my opinion, if you knew that it hurt you, the matriarch of the family, if you, because you as a matriarch was once a child too, right? So if you knew that it hurt you psychologically as well as physically when you were a child to get a whooping, if you knew that it hurt you, why would you then go on to do that to your child, right? Why wouldn't you break that chain right there? It hurt me when this happened to me. So I'm not going to do this to my own so that they won't do it to theirs, if it makes sense. You know, that's why I say you can't do as I say and not as I do. It don't work like that, you know. And so yeah. And then, like I said, some people use corporal punishment even to this day. But I also said when you know better, you do better. You know, and some people, like I said, I didn't feel like it was anything wrong with the corporal punishment that had been used on me. You know, but I went to school, and I studied, and I realized that hey, this is family violence, you know, and this type of when you use a corporal punishment, it doesn't do anything but teach violence to the child. So I chose to instill in my family that we're not going to do the corporal punishment thing, right? We're not going to do that because, like I said, at the end of the day, when you know better, you do better, right? Especially if you feel like you got an anger problem. Another problem that I have with some people is some mothers they think because they're the mother that they have a right, even after the child is grown, even have the right to treat that adult child the same way they treated that adult child when that child before that child became an adult, right? And that is disrespect, especially when it comes to the grandchildren and undermining authority, right? So you seeing your daughter, spanking, her child, you know, and cause you didn't appreciate you got her off of her. True enough, you know, but the way that you got her off of her was the same thing that she was doing. So it's just all goes, round and round and round until somebody gets off the merry-go-round, right? Until somebody gets off the merry-go-round, right? Let me read this. Yusuf said, I too got beat, and I know, it affected my attitude in a negative way. I literally had to control myself twice as much as normal from whipping A in arguments. Yeah, yeah, that is a learned response. That is a learned response. Absolutely. hmm Some people will lose their mind over something like that, you know. But like I said, I think that um, because a lot of us don't understand that a lot of this trauma, a lot of these actions were passed down, were passed down from slavery because of what happened to us, and it's not just whippings or whoopings that were passed. A lot of these bad behaviors. That's not the only thing that was passed down when it comes to ancestral trauma, right? Ancestral trauma creating generational curses, right? That's not the only thing that was passed down. I was just using this as an example because this conversation has been going around, and there's no explaining it away, you know. So, but when you know better, you do better, and so hopefully, uh if you did do that, and you got the consequences, and because for every action there's a reaction, right? Hey Cloud, how you doing, love? you know and so say it had to come to the police being called, right? The police being called, and because you assaulted your adult child, you had to go to jail. You had to, go through A, B, C, and D. You went through counseling. Counseling is a good thing. We know that in the Black community, we don't always utilize counseling as much as we should. Hopefully, a lot more of us learning to. Some of us take better care of better care of our cars than we do our mental health, right? you know but because we are a lot more educated, you know um because some of it is because the internet. A lot of people are talking about counseling or therapy now, right? So it's not as frowned upon when it comes to the Black community now as it used to be, right? It's more accessible. Also, back in the day, I would imagine it wasn't as accessible as it is now. you know so yeah. No, I forgot about that, Sheba. Oh wow, that's crazy. Not Creflo. Child. Mm-mm. But anyway, like I said, you live, you learn, you grow, right? I'm not trying to pass judgment on anybody, but this was a greater conversation. And the greater conversation is generational slash ancestral curses. And I want to give you guys an example of how these things can be passed down, you know, and you don't even realize what's going on. You don't even realize that you are teaching that type of violence to your child without realizing, right? That's right. Respect our Black children, right? Right. Adults, or when they reach adulthood, when they're still small and in your care, respect your children. you know and so yeah. And so yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say about that subject. It's just that, like, I want to have the larger conversation because, like I said, for a lot of times we would rather explain it away. A lot of people don't like to be, um, you know, uh, mm, I don't. You guys know me. You guys that have been in my chat for a long time. I don't swing and I don't go to bat for, I don't advocate for other adults, but what I will never stop advocating for is the children, right? And the protection of children. So if I get something, if something comes up, right? And eventually I will get to around to um having a serious conversation about it, and I don't never have a problem with having a serious conversation when it comes to any type of violence in children. I take that seriously, right? Whether it be verbal abuse or physical abuse or whatever it is, in other or any form of abuse. I don't have a problem talking about it because, like I said time and time again, a lot of adults have been destroyed before they reached adulthood because of childhood trauma, right? But if you can grow past that and you can learn from it, it's a good thing. Like I said, different levels, different devils. It just is a part of life. I think that another part of that is um, when you try to reconcile your mind to what it is that you done, you know, and really there's no, reconciliation when it comes to that sort of thing. You just have to try to grow, get yourself some help, and then start to do better, right? You know, that's how I see it, you know. And if you don't start nothing, it won't be nothing, right? So yeah, that's just a little food for thought, but that I want to leave with you guys because, like I said, there is a larger conversation, and You always have to be mindful and cognizant, and there's no need to try to explain it away, or there's no need to try to, there is no excuse. There is no excuse. I don't care if you. I don't understand how you protecting somebody from violence by committing violence. That doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, okay, all right. You know, thank you, Mother Twerk. Says this was needed. We can never stop advocating for children, in my opinion. I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. You know, you know, especially putting your hands on somebody is never acceptable. I don't care who you putting your hands on. It's never acceptable, especially when you're using it, as a control mechanism, right? Because we see when it comes to domestic violence, right? Um, you know, it's a when you're putting your hands on somebody, that's a control issue. Like even on here, let's take it on here. Did you see the story where 10-year old killed the lady no, I didn't, Sheba. Did you type that earlier? Because I don't know. No, I didn't see that. What happened? What happened? Uh-uh. So yeah. Her mother handed her the gun. Who'd she kill? My God. Goodness gracious alive. I haven't been watching the news this weekend, There'd be so much going on in the news, y'all. I have to take a break. It'd be a lot going on. A lot, a lot, a lot. Mm-mm. That's crazy. Thank you, Stephen. But anyway, I ain't gonna try to hold y'all too long. But and then just let me say this before I close too. When it comes to YouTube, I made a community post on my thing the other day about some people not being able to separate YouTube life from actual real life, right? And sometimes some people seem not to be able to differentiate the two, right? Oh wow, is that right? She shot the lady that the mama was fighting with. That's just a shame. I hope the mama go to jail for giving the little girl the gun. Mm, 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 mm. That's a shame. Mm, mm. Oh wow, that's fight for over a man. Oh Lord. Mm, 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 mm. Yusuf might. I guess didn't see. You. I guess Yusuf didn't see this story either. Mm-mm. But anyway, let me leave y'all with this because, like I said, I didn't want to make this too long. I just wanted to explain. I just want to have the larger conversation, right? Because you hear a lot of explaining away and a lot of why I did this because I was trying to protect that. And no, really, what you're doing is perpetuating the generational curse of family violence. That's what you're doing, right? But when you know better, you do better. So hopefully, after all is said and done, you've learned from that and you are no longer perpetuating that. You are no longer continuing that cycle. You are breaking that chain of generational slash ancestral curse. You don't want to teach your children to use putting their hands on somebody as a form of, discipline. Of course, correcting somebody that does a lot of harm to your child mentally as well. You tend to take abuse longer, you know, because you're used to being hit by somebody you love, you know. So yeah. Mm, 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 mm. I know that's right, Bella. Mm, mm. Okay, so I'm gonna get off here. Let me leave you out with this though. We have a lot of people with a lot of control issues, right? Now we know that we have a lot of women that are content creators, right? I'm one of them. And but see, here's the thing about me. I don't have a control issue, right? I think that everybody is entitled to their own opinion. Your opinion is your opinion, right? You do what you do. If I see a video and I have, whether I'm for or against that video, if it's public, I have a right to comment on it. It is what it is. And as does everybody else. The problem with the control issue comes in when you try to to uh dictate one content to when you go from doing your content and then try to dictate how somebody responds, right? That's the control issue, right? Because after the information becomes public, people are going to comment on it because it is what? It is a social media platform, and everybody has the right to his or her own opinion, right? But the control issue, like I said, comes in when you try to stifle somebody's voice, right? So if you don't want nobody telling you how to run your panel, or your channel, you should not be telling somebody else how to run their panel or their channel, you know. And a lot of people pick uh pick and choose what what to protect and what not to protect. Now, I'm not even talking about people. I'm talking about actions, right? Here's another problem with some of us, especially some of us black people. If you know a thing is wrong, you cool with that person, that's fine, but you don't have to protect that person in the midst of their wrong. Now, I understand that they say they try to correct it and they doing better. Good for you. I'm so happy. God is good. That is what you are supposed to do. But what I am not going to do is because this person has launched some kind of pity party or something for the wrong that they have done, right? And they say, well, I know better now, and I'm trying to this, and it hurt my child to hear this, that, and the other, and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes if you don't start nothing, it won't be nothing, right? So nobody put a gun to your head and asked you to come out and tell this very personal thing that was happening in your family. Like, why would you do that? You know, and that is also what I mean by YouTube life getting mixed up with some people's actual online real life, right? That's unfortunate, in my opinion. You know, some things you need to keep to yourself and off of social media, and especially if you're gonna be touchy about people commenting on it. And you can't control nobody or no thing once it's made out there. Once you put it out there, it's out there. You know, and everybody got a right to comment on it, whether you like it or not. You know, that's just how I see it. And then you can't say you was doxxed, cause why? Cause you put it out there. Don't make no sense. Don't make no sense to me anyway. But if you don't want nobody to find out about it, don't put it out there. Mm, mm, mm. That's all I'm gonna say about it. And as far as and also when it comes to the control issue, another way, a lot of people like to stifle your commentary, right? So say you do a video, you got a talking point, and I don't agree with it, right? So I come out with the opposition, right? Why I disagree with your talking point, right? And so, because I disagree with your talking point, manipulative people will try to use a whole lot of different tactics to try to stifle your opinion or to try to stifle your voice, right? One thing that they use, some people use ageism, right? Oh, I'm going to assume that you are this, that, and the other age in order to try to invalidate your response to what it is that I said, or a story that I told that I didn't think before I told that story, right? you know. So they'll try to use your age. One thing they'll try to use is, one way they'll try to manipulate the situation is by saying you're jealous. You're jealous of this, you're jealous of that. No, all I'm doing is having a counter argument to your argument. It don't mean I'm jealous. It don't mean I feel away. It mean I don't agree. And my rebuttal is going to be in disagreements, but it don't mean I'm jealous. It mean I disagree. Period. you know. But if you got a control issue, that's what you think. because you got a control issue. You can't run somebody else's panel, no matter how much you want to. You know, this is YouTube. YouTube runs YouTube's channels, right? At the end of the day, they cannot run your device. That is ridiculous, and it don't make no sense to me. You know what I mean? Just don't. That's right. You have your own mind. Like over here, we know that. What do I believe in? Critical thinking. Critical thinking. I don't like people to agree with me just because they own my channel. If you disagree, okay. I'm not going to say that you are hating on me. I'm not going to say whatever else excuse they use, to try to quash your opinion of a situation. You know, it don't make no sense. Mm-mm. Not just a little food for thought. A lot of controlling spirits around here. A lot of controlling people. That think they can bring your channel down. With the whip of a hand, or if they pull they support from you. Blah blah this and blah blah that. They be saying a whole bunch of stuff, trying to silence you, or to try to get you to think like them. Mm-mm. Well, anyway, she would say, sure is. Let me get off here. I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope you guys got something out of the larger issue, which is breaking the chains of family violence. You know, and like I said, when you know better, you do better. I think people spend too much time with the control issues as well. Just cause you put something out there and somebody disagree with it, like I said, you shouldn't try to bring somebody's channel down just because you don't agree with the freaking talking point. And just because you disagree with the talking point, that don't mean that you jealous of the talking point. That don't mean you jealous of the person. That is another way to manipulate their subscribers and their followers into thinking that you're doing something better than everybody else, and everybody got to try to take that away from you, or everybody's afraid of you, or everybody is scared of you. It's just another way to do that. That's all. mm, mm, mm. I was thinking about that. Says Stephanie said it was live. Do you plan on doing commentary on Monique and Dia? I'm gonna have to get it. That's right. We all grown on her. That's right, Viper Sniper. Absolutely. I'm gonna have to get into the story because shoot, they've been going back and forth for a couple of days, right? I like that too. Use of virtual vampires. Mm-hmm. Cause you supposed to be growing on my channel. Mm-hmm. Also, I bet the child try to read some of these things. Mm, mm. Thanks. Thanks for saying that, Sheba. Yeah, I was trying to read them all before I close, and I can't. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thanks for popping in, Yusuf. I really appreciate your commentary as well as everybody that was so interactive in the chat. Sheba, all of you guys, thank you guys so much. And like I said, I hope we got something out of this. If nothing else, at all, I know the difference between, YT life and actual real life. And for that reason, I get frustrated and I'll be and I can get, real sarcastic and real, messy, for YouTube. But what I would never do is, take YouTube seriously, and for that reason, I would never be on here, telling anything, um, that I didn't want to be rebroadcast on YouTube. I wouldn't. You never know who's listening and who's watching, and you got to be careful of that. It is what it is. Mm. All right. Sorry about that. I'm gonna get off of here. And I'm gonna talk to you guys later. Thank you, Mela. You guys have a nice rest of your day. Thank you for at least considering what it is that I had to say. I'm not being petty. I'm being serious about this issue. It's just that I wanted to put that situation in a larger context. You too, Tony. YouTube has become pressure for some people because, like I said, they don't know the difference. They internalize it. When you internalize it, it becomes a problem, you know. And a lot of people, and another form of control issue is the us against them mentality too. If you notice, you got a lot of that going on. It's us against them, when it's just commentary. And another thing is, oh, and I'm glad you brought that up. Every time I see, that's the reason why I can't close, y'all. Stuff keep popping in my head. You got the manipulation of the us against them mentality. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to hear anything about your commentary if it's not supporting, your talking points, right? Now, for me, I don't launch campaigns. I get on here and I do commentary. That's what I do. I don't launch campaigns, right? I don't have no 3, 4, 5 part series. And I don't launch campaigns. Just let me put it that way. I do commentary, you know, because no, I ain't got time to do all that, right? But you got to be careful with people that like I said want to manipulate and control the narrative, and say you're jealous, or you got a problem with, and try to separate, and this, that, and the other. That's a control issue that denotes insecurity, and it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate. mm, mm, mm. Got to try to get over that sort of thing. But a lot of people, y'all watch, a lot of people have control. They try to control your device. They try to control where you go. They try to take credit for what you've, achieved on here. It's just like a lie. It's just like it's a control issue, and it's so unfortunate. Mm-mm. Well, anyway, not the porch. What you talk about, Yusuf? Let me get on off here and call it a day. You guys have enjoyed. Sheba says, well, I'm on the porch staying sane, watching it. I know that's right, Sheba. Oh, that's why you self said, not the porch. Vampirish, I agree with that. You got a lot of energy vampires around here. You got a lot of people that sometimes people internalize this because maybe it's the first time that they feel like they've had a voice, you know, and for whatever reason, because we really don't know somebody's real life on here. And then sometimes it really pees me off when some people start assuming. Don't assume, uh I mean, you can assume about me, but don't overstep when it comes to assuming about certain things, because that will bring the dragon out of me, you know. And so, yeah. And then people wanna be like, oh, well, why she? Because you said that one thing that was gonna trip me over the edge, right? And so, yeah. Bahamadia says, uh, oh Lord, child. Oh, and then another thing is, I can't go on forever and ever. That's why the portrait. I know that's right, Cloud. Y'all know y'all been watching me for a while. Cloud, Sheba, baby, a lot of y'all that been watching me. Now, when I'm done with the thing, I'm done with it. Now, hit the one in the chat before I leave. So that's right. That's right. That's right. Free is a win. Yep. Every time. That's what it's gonna do. Every time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now hit the one in the chat if y'all know that when I am done with the thing, I am done with the thing. And I don't care how much you start keep twerking for my attention, you won't get it because I'm done. That is another way I don't slip up and start internalizing, a freaking talking point or something like that, right? Or even a roast or a gag or whatever. When I'm done with the thing, I'm done with it. And there, I have a time limit on my beefs. I have a time limit on my back and forths, and if you don't get me within that time limit, you won't be getting me at all. Thank you guys. Thank you. A lot of you guys know I got a time limit. hmm hmm And I pretty much don't reach my time limit. Tell you the truth. hmm I sure have. I don't reach my time limit. But anyway, uh, yep. I get bored and I move on. I done got bored, free thinker, and so yeah, I'm moving on from the conversation. A lot of people think that for whatever reason in their head that they've taken up space in your head or something, and for whatever reason it gives them some sense of validation, and then they would turn around and get upset with me because I done moved it right along and you are now invisible, and I don't care what you say anymore, because when I'm done with the thing, I'm done with it, right? It just is what it is, and that's how I move, and y'all know that. Bahamadia. You a mess, Bahamadia. But that situation that you're talking about, I'm done with that situation. I've moved it right along. hmm Moved it right along. You be saying it takes a lot to pull. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. Yeah, you're right about this, Sheba. It take a lot. hmm Yep. Mm-mm. But anyway, let me get off here, y'all. Talk to you guys later. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Have a great start to the week tomorrow, cause y'all know when Monday hit, some folks is just not ready. Okay, cause you been off all weekend, some folks, and oh oh you gotta wake up out early. It might not be that day. Y'all know how it be, but yeah, try to have a good one as you can. Get yourself a extra shot of espresso in that coffee, child, on Monday morning and move it right along, and you'll be bright eyed and bushy tailed and child get a song. Let me tell you what I used to do on Monday morning when I was still working. I give me an extra strong coffee, child, go in that job, and while I'm in my car, I'm listening to me a good song. By the time I get inside the building, I'm thinking about that song. I'm not thinking about you, child. I'm thinking about that song. I ain't thinking about this work day ahead. I'm thinking about that song, right? I'm trying to get myself ready. I know that's right, free thinking. You get child, you got to be prepared. Don't let it slip up on you. Don't let Monday morning slip up on you, child. I'm done, Yusa. This time, child, let's stay on early. Child, it's still early on it. Yep, you right, Sheba. hmm Thank you, free as the wind. Thank you. But yeah, y'all get y'all extra shot of espresso in that coffee, child. Get you a good little song on the radio. Uh, 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 um, you know, and just be humming it in your head. I remember, these heifers used to make me so bad on my job. I used to listen to that Drake song. What was that song? They know, they know, they know, they know. Yeah, they know. I used to sing it in my head all day. I was like, ooh, they know I'm that big. They know I got my stuff together. They know, they know, they know. Ooh, I know that's right, Yusuf. Yusuf said, get it all out. We'll live it. Thank you, Yusuf. And so I was listening to the Rose last night. I mean, some say love. Some say love. You know I love that song, right? That's I love that Bette Midler song. Yes. Oh, I'm gonna listen to the Rose when I get off of here. When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, When you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong. Girl, leave me alone. Leave me alone, Sheba. Don't get me started. Y'all know I be trying not to not to torture y'all with this horrible voice of mine. Now she got the song in my daggone head, y'all. Well, thank you very much, Sheba. I don't appreciate that. I'm gonna listen to that when I get out here. Damn, I love that song. Child. Mm-mm-mm. They don't have no music in this day and age. I love me some Beth, Stephanie. I do. Hmm it's on your music play after Whitney Houston. You light up my life. After Whitney. All right, Claude. He said, "Oh Lord, child, it ain't my fault, Claude. It wasn't my fault. That was Sheba's fault, Claude. That was Sheba's fault. That was not me. It was her fault." Mm-hmm. Sheba, you done got me in trouble. I don't appreciate it. Anyway, I love y'all. Okay. Y'all hit this like button on the way out the door. Share the video. Hit the subscribe button. Hey, hit that join button if you haven't. Sheba, don't be laughing because you got me in trouble with Claude. It's your fault. Okay? I'm just saying. I'm not to blame for that one. Anyway, do all that. And I love you guys. Y'all be safe. Don't let them pull that drama out of you tomorrow, honey, when you step inside that work door or wherever else you're doing. That's the voice, you're beautiful. That's that's the voice, your beautiful grandbaby. The voice my beautiful grandbaby hears. I don't have no grandbabies now, but I got some great nieces and nephews. Mm-mm. But anyway, let me get out of here. I love you guys. Talk to you guys later. Peace. I know, Claude. I know I ain't in trouble. So y'all are, well, I'm glad y'all. Claude said I wasn't in trouble. All right. Talk to y'all later. Y'all be good. Until next time. You have a good weekend too, free thinker. Bye, y'all. Like I said, peace.